The Vision High School Sports Beat is brought to you by the 12 locally owned dealerships of the Vision Automotive Group, offering Buick, GMC, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Hyundai, Kia, and Nissan. Check out all the selection at any location online at visionauto.com. Hello everybody and welcome to the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Dave Yates. It is part 2 of our Best of the School Year finale. As we take a look back at some of our top stories, we begin this week in Churchville, where the Saints soccer team looked to use their depth and chemistry to replace their graduated top scorer. Here's Bill Pucko.
Coming into the new season, it didn't appear the Churchville-Chili Saints had much going for them on the soccer field. Their top scorer, Mikah, graduated, and there was no heir apparent. And their senior goalkeeper was coming off the most difficult year of his life. Last fall, Alex Vogelweed was diagnosed with leukemia. He underwent a bone marrow transplant and chemotherapy. Coming back to play just a year later appeared out of the question.
I didn't honestly think I would be back at soccer just because I went from like almost 8-9 months without doing any physical activity to getting back out here and running around again, so it shocked me.
And I wasn't even sure if he'd be in net ever again, just knowing what he went through. He went through so much last year. So when he got there, you could see it. You could see little pieces. He was reading the game well, but he was laid off his line. He was, he took 14 months off and lost so much weight in that off season. So his strength wasn't there. His timing wasn't there. We lost our first 2 scrimmages, and in those scrimmages we had a lot of goals scored on us, and some of it was Alex with timing, and some of it was our team not being. We changed some things around after that, but every day Alex has gotten better and better and better.
Yeah, captain's practice were interesting because I was really out of shape, so just every little run I would make, I would be huffing and puffing, but after a while it started coming back to me.
Vogelweed's return to health is paying dividends past his play in the nets.
Last year, they all dyed their hair bleach blonde, and I couldn't tell who was who, honestly. For the first month of the season, until we put numbers on, I didn't know who was who. They were with him all along, so they went through it. It wasn't just Alex going through it. They were with him, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle for them emotionally. It was a struggle for them all watching him, a friend of theirs, someone they love, go through that. So, yes, that has helped because on the field you see it. They play for each other.
The quick turnaround was crazy. Like last year at tryouts, he was diagnosed and he's been going through treatments this whole time. And then coming back to captain's practices and he's already ready to go is unbelievable.
Is having a guy like that on the team that's been through what he's been through make you push at what you're doing a little harder?
Yeah, I mean, having a player like that makes you realize everything that you have could be taken from you in a second. So, I mean, it just pushes you to take every moment.
Inside the other 18, there was still the matter of who was going to put the ball in the net.
I knew we'd be good from the 18 to the 18, but with Alex returning from everything he went through last year, I wasn't sure how he'd look, I wasn't sure about our goalie situation, and I wasn't sure who would score goals for us this year. So I knew we'd be a good team. I knew we'd be able to control the ball in the midfield. We have some really dynamic, quality midfielders. But I was unsure about the other stuff, and obviously those questions have been answered in a lot of different ways.
The answer as to who would score was everyone. Through their first 7 games, the Saints had 11 different goal scorers, none of whom appear among the league leaders.
At first, during our first 2 scrimmages, we had trouble with that, and by the time of our first game, we adjusted so that we were putting a lot in the back of the net, and everyone's scoring, so it's great.
Times when you have the one guy on your team with the big ego and ends up you guys don't play possession as much, people are taking more shots, and it just becomes less of a team sport.
A 7-0 start speaks for itself. At Churchville this year, they didn't reinvent the game, but they are playing it a little differently.
I told the guys, I don't think we have a guy on the roster that's just going to score 15 or 20 goals. I said, but I really honestly believe that we have 6 or 7 or 8 guys who could score 6 or 7 or 8 goals, each of them. And if we did that, we could be really good. And as it turns out, it's happened through the first 6 games. We have 9 different goal scorers on 16 goals and 8 or 9 different guys chipping in assists, so everybody's doing it.
The Saints finished the year with 39 goals scored by 14 players, and goalie Alex Vogelweed had 5 shutouts and was named the team's MVP. Well, coming up, Bill Pucko returns for the Dunkin' Donuts High School Notebook. We've got that and more when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues.
Dunkin's frozen lemonades. Real fruit juice. Real refreshing. Summer's cooler with a frozen lemonade.
And welcome back to the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Dave Yates. It is time now for the High School Notebook, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And we are joined this week by Bill Pucko. Bill, welcome back to the High School Sports Beat.
I've never been in this seat. This feels really weird.
It's kind of weird for you. 7 years of this show. Let's look back on some of the things that really stand out for you over that time.
Gotta look at it. First of all, I think we managed to do, and you're doing now, high school sports the way they deserve to be done. In 7 years, I counted to some time, we're running over 800 stories now that we've done. And this isn't the local news, kiss off 20-second basketball VO. These are 3 to 7 minute stories that are getting into the minds of some of these kids. Like, what are you feeling? What do you think? What do you do? Why do you do it? And it wasn't just football and basketball. It was boys and girls, and we kept score. I mean, it was even. We gave them equal weight. The field hockey players got equal weight with the football players. We did volleyball. We did bowling. Nobody was doing bowling stories. I'm particularly proud of that, in fact, because all of these kids had something to offer.
You and I both started with that 20, 30-second VO. That way, you do 7, 8 basketball games. It serves a purpose, and it's a lot of work to get. But at the same time, it's not getting the depth that we're able to accomplish here.
These shows, and you probably feel the same way. They've always been like in the back of my mind. It says when we ever get the opportunity to do it right, this is what it's going to look like. And I think this program, it's been in the back of my mind for 20 years, and it was nice to have done it. What
are some of the stories that really stood out for you?
Well, the rule of thumb is always, for the coaches, for some reason, they don't really get on the first take what it is we're doing. So if you go to East Rochester, you tell them, look, I need a story in East Rochester that's going to play to the guy in Spencerport. So it's not going to be, hey, ER is great because we have such a great off-season program and the kids get along and the parents think that the kids deserve the attention, because none of those things fly. You have to make that story interesting to the person in Spencerport. So we had a swimmer who had a drug problem and came back, was sent out of state to get it cured, came back and was a champion. Mercy High School had a softball player who was missed an entire year of school with a bone marrow transplant. The first day she came back to the team, and the joy among the team to have her back as a teammate, even while she wasn't allowed back in the school, because of infection worries. Pittsford Mendon's got a soccer player that died in 9/11. Every year they select a kid to wear his number in honor, and they dedicated the field. That's a story that deserves to be told, every year. Mm-hmm. And there were lots of stories like that went deeper than who scored how many against who and won. And
I think that's the big thing too, is the stories that we're looking at aren't the ones that are necessarily the kid who's leading a team or a team that's doing. There's always something underneath that makes it more special for someone who's not involved intimately with that team.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times that is the kid. We select a lot of times the basis of accomplishment, what team we want to cover, but then it's what do you got? What have you got that's going to sell to another school district? It's going to be interested in the story you have to tell. It could be the last person off the bench. They all have stories. There's a story with every team. This is a matter of going in there and finding it and then telling it effectively.
Also, we've kind of got a little more leeway time-wise, like you said. I mean, we don't have the time constraints that the news programs do, and that gives us an opportunity to go more in depth.
Yeah, it was a grind. I mean, it's all we do. It is not an easy thing to sometimes tell a 3 and 4 minute story and to have it make sense, and to have kids willing to go in depth enough talking about themselves and their team and their sport, and a coach who's articulate about the finer points of these things and really kind of gets what we're doing. But I think we've also educated the high schools too. It's a niche show. I've always thought it's a niche show. It clearly is. It's not for everybody, because if you don't have a kid in high school sports and stuff, you really don't care about what we're serving up. But it might be the most important niche in a community has, is high school sports. It's its whole identity, and we give that life.
Great, Bill.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us, as always. Thanks for everything you've done for the show and for everything you've done for the area and for high school sports.
Well, thank you, too.
All right, thanks, Bill. Take care. And we will be back with more of the Vision High School Sports Beat right after this. Coming up next, the best of the Wegmans Making the Grade nominees with Kim. And later, a look back at one of Section 5's best golfers when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues.
Welcome back and thanks for watching the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Kim Burnson. It's time now for Making the Grade, brought to you by Wegmans. Wegmans is a proud supporter of Making the Grade, which highlights the accomplishments of Section 5 student athletes on and off the playing field. It's time now to take a look back at our honorees from the 2017-2018 high school sports year. Abby Sauer and Molly Alessi co-captained the Churchville swimming and diving team. They were both nominated for their outstanding leadership and dedication to their sport. Abby is a member of the Churchville-Chili Fire Department Explorer Post. Meanwhile, her teammate Molly is a National Honor Society member and has helped the swim program by volunteering to manage the modified swim team for 2 seasons. Spencer Port's Olivia Wall captained back-to-back Section 5 champion soccer teams. She's also the vice president of the robotics team. Olivia is tied for first in her junior class academically with a near-perfect average of 99%. Haley Pilati is a track standout at Livonia and holds a 97 average in school and was a 2K steeplechase champion at the USA Junior Olympics in California. She plans to run at Jacksonville University in the fall. Thanks and congrats to all those recognized this season as Making the Grade, brought to you by Wegmans. And now here's Dave with the special Section 5 Spotlight.
Well, thanks, Kim. This week for our season finale, we're going to make the Section 5 Spotlight a video tribute to the school year. Brought to you by McCardle's in Fairport. Come home to McCardle's.
It's really where we're at right now. You know, we did certain things really well to get to this point. You know, came together as a group, and you guys deserve a ton of credit for that.
Going to sleep, I'm closing my eyes, I'm going into the darkness, oh darkness take me, but when I open my eyes, in the middle of the night, I see this light I didn't see before, oh where did it come from, and I turn on my phone and open the window. I'm just seeing streetlights, but they're not the thing. Now I can't sleep, I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong, that could go right. Then I turn my head, you're sleeping next to me. Are you at peace? Are you at peace? Now I can't sleep, I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong, that could go right. Now I can't sleep, I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong, that could go right. Now I can't sleep, I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong, that could go right. Now I can't sleep, I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong, that could go right.
Up next, the Section 5 Golfer of the Year, Mikah McDonnell, when the Vision High School Sports Beat continues.
In now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back and thanks once again for joining us on the Vision High School Sports Beat. I'm Dave Yates. We look back now at the fall season standout golfer, Webster's Mikah McDonnell. She's just a junior and already the best in Section 5. Here's Bill Pucko.
She's been somebody that you have to contend with. The girls know who she is. She's a pretty accomplished player outside of high school golf, but this year was the one year that she finally kind of got over, so it was kind of nice to see.
Prior to high school, Mikah McDonnell of Webster Thomas was a pretty good athlete, blissfully unaware of how good a golfer she'd become. A three-sport athlete along with softball and bowling, who was about to discover her passion.
When I was younger, my uncle played and he really got me into it. So I went to some camps, I got some clubs, and I played in a couple tournaments, and I realized that this was really the sport for me, and I really enjoyed it.
And a star was born. Golf's now a large part of McDonnell's life. She's coached by Joe Lasardi at Locust Hill at least twice per week. Lasardi's roster of students include Gavin Hall and Will Thompson, two of the most promising boy golfers Section 5 has produced the last few years. She's played on the Summer Tour, prestigious events which include an invitation as among the youngest to compete for the Porter Cup. Mikah served notice last year when she finished 10th in the state high school golf championships. That was the highest among Section 5 participants. She capped that performance this fall by winning both the Tournament of Champions and the sectional title in an ongoing rivalry with Pittsford's Lena Kaufman.
Yeah, we definitely went back and forth, and we definitely played off of each other throughout the whole season, and we definitely did it during sectionals too. But I mean, I enjoy playing with her, and that's really all that matters. So
She's gotten stronger as she's gotten older, but it's more the mental thing that she kind of focused on this year. She's very hard on herself. She's self-driven, and she wants to be the best, and she always wants to win. And that can kind of get in the way a little bit once in a while. So she really focused on treating herself kindly and speaking to herself kindly and having good words after maybe a bad hole.
Golf is unique in that competitive emotions and adrenaline bursts that serve other pursuits well are discouraged upon traits on the course. McDonnell's attempting to accomplish at age 16 what most of us fail to, regardless of our age.
it's definitely a challenge. I know that I'll get better at it as soon as I get older and experience more tournaments and stuff, but I'm just trying to really be the best I can right now.
It's a matter of it has to come subconsciously, but you have to be conscious of it.
Yes.
It's just like this internal battle, isn't it?
Well, I actually have little reminders on myself. Personally, I have a bracelet that I wear that says "Speak to yourself kindly." So if I look down and I see that, it really reminds me to focus on my attitude and how I speak to myself.
There you go.
No, just a little too much.
All right.
Section 5 is one of only 2 in the state that offers girls golf as a fall sport. As such, the state championships aren't held until spring. That leaves Mikah and her peers 8 months to prepare. More than you might like.
It's definitely hard because you're really not playing as much as you normally would coming off of your season, but I tend to play in other tournaments outside of my season, so I'll play in the winter down south just so I can just maintain my level of ability.
McDonnell is just a junior. When college becomes the issue, Mikah will move south.
I just want to be working on my game as much as I possibly can and get the real terrain, not hitting off of turf, but I prefer hitting off of grass when I can, so if the weather's good, I'll come out here. So it's just a personal preference, really. But if I could play up here all year round, I probably would stay closer here.
And from there?
I'm not really jumping too far ahead to professional career. I'm just trying to focus on finishing out my high school season and potentially playing in college and working on my college career just so I can really develop that. And then if the opportunity comes, I'll definitely try to play professionally, but I'm not really too concerned about it right now.
The state tournament for golf took place in early June, and Mikah was the top performer from Section 5, finishing tied for 13th in the state. We'd like to thank our sponsors, especially the 12 dealerships in the Vision Automotive Group. They make the Sports Beat possible. That's a wrap on our 7th season. Thanks to everyone for watching and to all the athletes and coaches for a great year. We'll see you in the fall. Have a great summer.